ever feel like the resources and advice out there for women are missing something essential? I thought so too, which is why I created She Said, She Said. I'm Laura Cox Kaplan. Making a real impact takes more than just passion. It takes the right mindset, the right skills, the right investments, and the right community. On this show, we dive deep with incredible women from all walks of life who have been there. We uncover the secrets to building influence, navigating tricky relationships, and staying true to ourselves even when it's tough. And let's face it, it often is. I also throw in my own favorite productivity and life hacks, things that have shifted my perspective and might help you too. Wherever you are in your journey, my goal here is to leave you inspired to define success your way and to help you build the confidence you need to tackle your biggest goals. Subscribe today and let's unlock your full potential, your confidence, and your greatest influence. Hey friend, welcome back to She Said, She Said podcast. I'm Laura Cox Kaplan, and I am so happy to be back with you after a little bit of a summer pause. I hope you got a really nice break. I know I did. I intentionally stepped away for a few weeks, not just to recharge, which I highly recommend, but also to work behind the scenes on something that I am really excited to share with you. Now, if you happen to catch She Said, She Said podcast episode 333, which posted in June just before I went on break, you know that I talked about the science behind why a recharge is a good thing. Breaks aren't just a luxury. They're really essential to your creativity, to your confidence, and ultimately to your resilience. And they also help reset the brain to make you more effective and creative when you ultimately come back. And now, as we're easing back into work and school and post-summer routines, I actually want to build on that theme a little bit. If the shock of getting back into it all already feels like too much, don't worry. I have actually pulled together a list of 7 ways to ease the transition while also helping you maximize the value that comes from breaks. Now, these productivity tips are designed to help you really protect your equilibrium, your confidence, and ultimately your momentum so that you can focus your energy where it matters most, on your top priorities. You're going to find that list of top 7 things that you can do to sort of ease back from break in my intentional iteration newsletter. So be sure to check that out. If you haven't already, you'll find a link to that in the show notes for this episode. And speaking of recharge, I actually spent part of mine working on a new and improved She Said, She Said podcast website, and I cannot wait for you to see it. We have added lots more functionality and resources and tools to make it easier for you to find exactly what you need, whether it's from podcast episodes or guests to blog and newsletter content to worksheets and guides. Plus, it has a look and feel that I think more closely aligns with the vibe that I'm trying to create here at She Said, She Said podcast. I think you're going to love it. I want to give a great big thanks to my friend, the incredibly talented and creative Tamara Edwards of TE & Co., and also my new friend, the fabulous Angela Ryan at Exotic Species. Both of these women and their teams helped bring this vision of this website to life in a way that I think reflects the positive, optimistic, and empowering vibe that is She Said, She Said podcast and what you've come to expect. So, friend, when you get a chance, be sure to pop over to SheSaidSheSaidPodcast.com or to LauraCoxKaplan.com. Both will work and take you to the same place. Check that out. Let me know what you think. And also be sure to tell me what else would help you as you're building your own influence and impact. One of the other projects that I tackled during my break was completing a few certificates in positive psychology in order to ground much of the content that I create related to influence. This is a topic that I am really passionate about, and so I loved having an opportunity to go deep and really build out the science behind why these things matter so much. I'll be talking about this a bit in today's episode, as well as in episodes going forward. So more on that later. For today, though, we're going to focus on the topic of social capital and why returning after a break can be a great time to create a strategy for really maximizing your social capital and how that strategy connects to your well-being and ultimately to your ability to build lasting influence. But first, let's start with what is social capital and why does it really matter? When I say social capital, I'm actually talking about the value that lives in your relationships. It's the trust, the reciprocity, and ultimately the goodwill that exists within your network, your friends, your colleagues, your mentors, your neighbors, your family, your community. Unlike financial capital, you can't see it in your bank account. But make no mistake, social capital is essential currency. It opens doors, it sustains influence, and it helps you weather challenges. And maybe, most importantly, it actually contributes to your overall well-being. I've been thinking a lot about this topic, especially over the summer when I had an opportunity to reconnect with friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, and also to some of my other contacts that I had not had a chance to touch base with in a while. And I was thinking about how incredibly powerful these relationships have been to me, and how important it is to stay invested in them. Positive psychology research tells us that relationships are the single biggest predictor of happiness and life satisfaction. And that's true today, and it's true especially as we age. In fact, when Dr. Martin Seligman developed what's called the PERMA model of well-being, R in the PERMA model stands for relationships, and that was really right there at the center. Why? Because we're wired for connection. Relationships create resilience. They give us meaning, and they ultimately broaden our perspective, and they reinforce that we belong. And when it comes to influence, real influence, the kind that lasts, it isn't built on likes and clicks or titles. It's really built on the trust and credibility that comes from the depth and quality of our relationships. That is social capital in action. So why am I talking about this right now? Because if you've had a break, a summer pause, or a family vacation, or even just maybe a slower season, I think this is really a golden moment. Breaks create natural transitions. They can give you perspective. They can shake you out of your normal routine, and they can ultimately make it easier to reset. Just think about it. When you step back into your life after time away, people are often curious. How was your summer? What did you do? That curiosity creates a natural opening for reconnection. You don't need a complicated excuse to reach out. You can simply say, I was thinking about you as I was getting back into the swing of things. How have you been? How was your break? From an influence perspective, this is really powerful because influence is not about big, flashy gestures. It's about the small, consistent moments of connection that over time add up to trust and credibility. So returning after a break is not just about catching up. It can be about strategically renewing and strengthening your social capital. So let's talk for a minute about the science behind why this works and why this is so important. Here's where positive psychology really gives us a useful lens. There's something called the broaden and build theory. It was developed by Barbara Friedrichsen, who is a distinguished professor of psychology at the University of North Carolina. And she found that positive emotions like joy and gratitude and curiosity literally broaden our thinking, and they help us build lasting resources, especially relationships. Now, coming back from a break often puts us in a better emotional state. We're more open and more energized, and that can be the perfect time to broaden and build. Now, notably, the inverse is also true. When our emotions are negative or focused on negative outcomes, that tends to shrink our perspective. It makes us less creative, more defensive, more fearful. You get the idea. Now, couple that with something called the progress principle that was developed by Teresa Amabile, one of the most influential voices in understanding how environment and mindset can shape human creativity and productivity. Essentially, what she found is that small wins matter. Reaching out, in this case, reaching out to just one or two people can give you a sense of progress that can fuel motivation. You don't need to reconnect with everyone at once. Start small, make a list, build momentum, and aim to make just a little bit of progress each and every day. Now, all of this ties back to what's called the PERMA model that I mentioned before. That was developed by the University of Pennsylvania professor Martin Seligman, who is considered to be the father of the field of positive psychology. The R in PERMA tracks with relationships, but reentry after a break connects to the P, positive emotion, which is renewed energy. And then the E, engagement, getting back into meaningful work. And then M, meaning reflecting on why your relationships matter. Now, from a mental health perspective, staying connected actually helps combat loneliness and isolation, both of which can have significant negative health impacts. Think of your social capital strategy not just as a networking tactic, which of course it is, but also as an investment in your well-being and in your resilience, not to mention the tremendous boost that it can give to your personal and professional influence. Now, let's get tactical for a minute. I have a few steps that you can take to refresh and grow your network very easily. The first is make a list. Identify those 5 or 10 people that you'd like to reconnect with. Don't rely on memory. Instead, scroll through your calendar, your texts, your DMs, maybe recent likes and comments on your social media posts. Those are real signals of who's been in your orbit. And then segment that list. Not everyone needs the same kind of outreach. Maybe one friend gets a coffee invite, or another connection gets a text, another gets a handwritten note. You can decide. And in order to do so, you might want to consider this third step, give first. As you think about your outreach, lead with curiosity, with encouragement, maybe even an article or a resource that could be helpful to that person. Reciprocity helps build social capital. And as you look at your list, think about who's in a position to receive something from you, not just who you can get something from. Think about advice and perspective and new ideas that you've run across that could be helpful to that person. And then leverage your reentry moment. Use the natural conversation starter of how was your summer? How's your reentry going? Because it feels effortless and authentic. And then run a simple cadence. Don't necessarily wait for another 6 months. Put a recurring reminder in your calendar to reach out to 2 or 3 people each week. Remember to follow up because social capital grows when we're consistent. So be sure to send a note and follow up with something that you've discussed, or simply check back in, or maybe share something else that you found that would be interesting to that person. And then reflect and refresh. Set aside some time, maybe each week, to think about who else you should be adding to your outreach list for the coming week. Who did you connect with this week? Who do you want to prioritize next? These steps aren't complicated at all, but over time, they create the conditions for influence, for resilience, and ultimately for happiness. I've included some additional perspective and some additional tactical advice for helping to boost your network in my Intentional Iteration newsletter. You'll find a link to that in the show notes for this episode. And finally, let me connect the dots a bit more directly as it relates to influence, social capital, and your future self. When you build social capital, you're not just investing in your current network. You're actually investing in your future self. Think about the opportunities that you've had in your career or your life that came through a connection, maybe a mentor's introduction or a friend's encouragement or a colleague's referral. As I think back over my own life and career, every single opportunity I've ever received has come initially through someone in my network, or because someone in my network could vouch for my credibility and integrity and competence. But those network connections didn't happen overnight. They happened because of the cumulative trust and goodwill that was built up over months and ultimately years. And here's where I want to put a finer point on the topic of influence. When people trust you, when they know you, when they feel that you've invested in them, they're far more likely to listen to you, support you, and ultimately follow your lead. It's something that's difficult to put a price tag on because it really is priceless. It's one of the most valuable assets that you can have. So if you want to maximize your influence, start by maximizing your social capital and use this post-break moment as your launching pad. And speaking of launching pads, I want to tell you a little bit more about the brand new She Said website. I have been working hard on this refresh, as I mentioned, because I wanted to give you even more of what you've told me that you're looking for. Easier ways to find past podcast episodes organized around the challenges and opportunities that you care about the most, some expanded article and blog content, including my intentional iteration newsletter, worksheets, guides, and practical tools that you can use right away to apply what we're talking about here. And then coming soon, some additional interactive ways for us to learn and grow together as a community. I am so excited for you to check this out and for us to get the website really rolled out. So be sure to go to shesaidpodcast.com or lauracoxkaplan.com. Both work. And here's my request to you, since we have just rolled the website out, there's probably a few things that aren't working exactly as they will ultimately, but we're pretty much up and running. So when you visit, be sure to let me know what you think, send me a note or tag me on social media and tell me what you're finding helpful and also what you'd like to see more of and how I can continue to serve you better. So, friend, here is your challenge for the week. Make that short list of people that you'd like to reconnect with. Reach out to just one today. And if you're feeling ambitious, share this episode with a friend and invite them to join you in creating a social capital reset strategy. Remember, friend, relationships aren't just nice to have. They are essential to your influence, to your resilience, and to your well-being. And there is no better time to start than now. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I hope this conversation sparks new energy for you as you reconnect and reset and reinvest in your own social capital. Don't forget to visit my new website at shesaidpodcast.com or lauracoxkaplan.com and sign up for my intentional iteration newsletter on LinkedIn so you won't miss any of the resources rolling out. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please be sure to drop me a note or connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Until next time, I'm Laura Cox Kaplan. This is She Said Podcast, a weekly production of She Said Media. Take care.